Can someone explain why the old guy is still on payroll? The comment came from the Target break room, loud enough for Robert Martinez to hear through the door. He was about to enter for his 15-minute break, holding his water bottle, still catching his breath from 2 hours of pushing shopping carts in the suburban Virginia heat. Derek Thompson, 26, assistant manager with a business degree from George Mason and big ambitions, was talking to 2 younger employees, reviewing staffing schedules on his tablet. The break room door was slightly ajar. Robert's hand paused on the handle. I mean, seriously, look at his productivity metrics, Derek continued, scrolling through data. Bob collects half the carts of someone half his age. He moves slow. He takes longer breaks because his knees hurt. Why are we even keeping him? Isn't he like a veteran or something? Melissa, a college student working checkout, asked tentatively, so what? Derek laughed. Not cruel exactly, but dismissive in the way only someone who'd never struggled could be. Everyone needs a sob story to get hired now. Oh, I served my country. Give me a job. Look, I respect military service or whatever, but this is retail. We need speed, efficiency, productivity. Not some old guy who can barely push a shopping cart without needing a break. He's really nice though, Jake, another young employee offered. He helped me learn the cart system my first day. Being nice doesn't hit quarterly targets, Derek said. Corporate's breathing down my neck about labor costs, and Bob's dragging our numbers down. Honestly, I don't know how he got hired in the first place. Probably some diversity quota for seniors. Robert stood frozen in the hallway. His water bottle trembled slightly in his weathered hand. A hand that had once held a weapon steady in situations where hesitation meant death. He could push open that door, walk in, face Derek. Tell him exactly who he was, what he'd done, why those slow movements came from old injuries earned serving his country in ways Derek couldn't comprehend. But he didn't. Because Robert Martinez had learned across 35 years in the FBI that showing restraint was harder than showing force. That the measure of a man wasn't what he'd done yesterday, but who he was today. That sometimes the strongest thing you could do was walk away. So he turned around, went back to the parking lot. Back to the shopping carts gleaming in rows under the Virginia sun. He'd faced terrorists, interrogated murderers, stopped attacks that would have killed thousands. He could handle one ambitious assistant manager who didn't know any better. But inside the store, someone had overheard the entire conversation. Someone shopping in the break room vending machine area. Someone who'd frozen when she heard the name, Bob Martinez. Special Agent Jennifer Chin, 52, FBI Counterterrorism Division, had stopped at this target on her lunch break. And she'd just heard her former boss, one of the Bureau's legends, being dismissed as a burden. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. This needed to stop. Now. Where's part-time, 20 hours a week, mostly cart collection with occasional stocking when they needed extra hands. He'd started at 66, 18 months after his wife Elena had died from ovarian cancer. The house in suburban McLean had become unbearable, too quiet, too full of memories, too empty of purpose. His FBI pension was generous. He owned the house outright. His daughter lived in Seattle, called every Sunday, sent pictures of the grandchildren. He didn't need the money, but he needed the structure, the routine, the reason to get up at 5 a.m., shower, dress, drive to the Target on Route 7. He needed to be useful. Elena had made him promise during those final weeks. Don't disappear into that house, Bobby. Don't let the quiet swallow you. Find something. Anything. Just keep living. So, he'd applied to Target. They'd been thrilled older workers were reliable, showed up on time, didn't call in sick. He passed the background check in about 30 seconds. The FBI had very thorough records on Robert Martinez. All of them glowing. The work was simple. Collect shopping carts from the parking lot, return them to the store, organize them by the entrance, help customers load heavy items, smile, be kind. Stay busy. Most days it was enough. Most days, young managers like Derek didn't remind him of everything he used to be. 3 hours later, Robert was bringing in a line of 12 carts when Derek intercepted him at the entrance. Bob, we need to talk. Robert stopped. Yes, sir? Derek glanced around customers everywhere. Not the place for this conversation. My office. 5 minutes. Robert parked the carts, followed Derek through the store to the back offices. The fluorescent lights hummed. The break room was empty now, the earlier conversation forgotten by everyone except Robert. Derek's office was small, cramped, decorated with motivational posters about exceeding expectations and team excellence. He sat behind his desk, pulled up something on his computer. "Bob, I'm going to be direct. Your performance numbers are concerning." Robert stood. Derek hadn't offered him a seat. "I'm doing my best, sir." "Are you?" Derek turned the monitor. A spreadsheet showed cart collection rates. Robert's name was highlighted in red, well below the average. "You're collecting 40% fewer carts per hour than our other cart attendants, all of whom are under 25. I apologize. My pace isn't what it used to be." "That's exactly my point." Derek leaned back, hands behind his head, the posture of someone very pleased with their own insight. "Bob, I think we need to have an honest conversation about whether this job is appropriate for someone your age." Something flickered in Robert's eyes. "Just for a moment. I'm 68, sir, not incapacitated." "I'm not saying you're incapacitated. I'm saying retail is physically demanding. And maybe no offense, but maybe you'd be happier in a less strenuous role. Have you considered full retirement?" "I'd like to keep working." Derek sighed, the sound of someone dealing with a difficult child. "Look, I get it. You probably need the money. Social Security doesn't go as far as it used to. But from a business perspective, I have to think about efficiency. Target isn't a charity." Robert's hands, clasped behind his back, tightened slightly. "I understand." "Do you? Because I'm not sure you do." Derek leaned forward. "We have standards, metrics, corporate expectations. And every hour you're underperforming, it affects our entire store's rating, which affects my performance review, which affects my career. I'll try to work faster, sir." "Bob." Derek's voice softened, which somehow made it worse. "I don't think you can. It's not about effort. It's about physical capability. You're 68. You move slow because you're old, and I can't change that." The words hung in the air. Robert met Derek's eyes, the same eyes that had stared down terrorists in interrogation rooms, that had stayed calm during crisis after crisis, that had seen things Derek couldn't imagine. "Is there anything else, sir?" Derek waved a hand. "That's all. Just think about what I said." Robert left the office, walked back through the store, back to the parking lot, back to the carts. But in the store's security office, Jennifer Chen had been waiting for the manager on duty. And she was about to introduce herself in a way Derek Thompson would never forget. "Let me ask you something. Have you ever been judged as too old, too slow, or not good enough for a job you were overqualified for? Have you watched someone dismiss another person's value based on age or appearance? Keep that feeling in mind. Because what happens next shows why you should never, ever assume you know someone's story." 20 minutes later, Derek's radio crackled. "Derek, can you come to the front? There's a situation." He hurried to the customer service desk, where the manager on duty, Patricia, stood with a woman in business casual attire. The woman had a leather ID holder in her hand. "Mr. Thompson, this is Special Agent Jennifer Chen, FBI." Derek's confusion was instant and visible. "FBI? Is there a problem? Shoplifting? Fraud?" Jennifer's expression was ice. "No, Mr. Thompson. I'm here about one of your employees, Robert Martinez." Derek's face shifted concern mixed with vindication. "Oh God, did he do something? I knew something was off about him." "Do something?" Jennifer's voice could have frozen nitrogen. "Mr. Thompson, do you know who Robert Martinez is?" "He's a cart attendant. Older guy, underperforming. Honestly, I was just discussing termination." "Stop talking." Jennifer pulled out her phone, pulled up a photo, turned it to face Derek. The image showed a younger Robert Martinez, maybe 45, standing in the FBI headquarters, shaking hands with President Obama. He was in a dark suit, a medal around his neck. "That," Jennifer said quietly, "is Supervisory Special Agent Robert Martinez receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2014 for his role in preventing the largest terrorist attack on American soil since 9/11. Derek's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. "Bob Martinez," Jennifer continued, her voice growing harder, "spent 35 years in the FBI. He ran the counterterrorism division. He trained every agent currently in that division, including me. He stopped attacks you'll never hear about because they're still classified. He's saved more lives than you can count." Patricia, the manager, had gone pale. Other employees were gathering, phones out. And you? Why would he? Jennifer cut him off. Bob doesn't wear his achievements like a badge. He doesn't need validation from people who don't understand service. She pulled up another photo. Robert, younger still, maybe 35, in tactical gear, leading a team through what looked like a raid. 1995. Oklahoma City bombing aftermath. Bob led the investigation that caught the conspirators the media never reported. 17 people who were planning follow-up attacks. Bob found them in 4 days. Another photo. Robert with other agents, all looking exhausted but relieved. 2001. Week after 9/11. Bob worked 120 hours straight coordinating responses, tracking cells, preventing revenge attacks. He personally stopped 3 separate terrorist operations in 3 different states. In 1 week. Derek was shaking now. I didn't. How could I know? You couldn't. That's the point. Jennifer's voice softened just slightly. Bob doesn't talk about it because he doesn't think it matters anymore. He thinks being a good person today is more important than what he did yesterday. She pulled up one more photo, recent, maybe 2 years ago. Robert at Elena's funeral, surrounded by hundreds of FBI agents in dress uniform, all saluting. His wife died 3 years ago. The woman who stood by him through 35 years of danger, stress, classified operations. The entire counterterrorism division showed up to honor her, because Bob Martinez is a legend in the Bureau. Jennifer looked around at the gathered crowd of employees and customers, many filming. And after she died, instead of accepting a consulting position making $300,000 a year, instead of writing a memoir that would be a bestseller, instead of taking the easy path, she gestured toward the parking lot, where Robert was visible through the windows, steadily pushing carts. He chose to work here. To stay active, to serve in a different way, because that's who Bob Martinez is. Derek found his voice. It came out as a whisper. Where is he? Doing his job, Jennifer said. The job you told him he's too old for. Derek walked to the parking lot on legs that felt disconnected from his body. His mind was reeling the metrics, the performance reviews, the dismissive comments, all of it crashing over him in waves of shame. Robert was by the cart return, methodically organizing carts by size. He didn't look up when Derek approached. Mr. Martinez. Derek's voice cracked. I need to apologize. Robert continued working. No need, sir. Yes, there is. Derek moved into Robert's line of sight. I just spoke with Agent Chen. She told me who you are, what you've done. Robert finally stopped, met Derek's eyes. What I did, past tense. Right now, I push carts. That's the job. But you're a hero. You saved thousands of lives. You worked for presidents. And I told you. Derek's voice broke. I told you that you were too old. Too slow. That target wasn't a charity. You were looking at the numbers, Robert said gently. That's your job. The numbers don't show. Derek gestured helplessly. They don't show that you help every elderly customer load their car, that you walk people to their vehicles when it's dark, that you calmed down that kid who was having a panic attack last month. The numbers don't show any of that. Robert smiled slightly. Numbers never do. Why didn't you tell me? Derek asked. About the FBI? About everything? Because it's not why I'm here. Robert returned to organizing carts. I'm here to work, to be useful, to serve. I did that in the FBI. I do it here. The uniform's different, the mission's smaller, but service is service. Derek wiped his eyes. I'm so sorry. For what I said in the break room. For the office. For all of it. I forgive you, Robert said simply, but learn from it. Don't judge people by their productivity metrics, or their age, or their current position. Everyone has a story. Everyone has value. News travels fast in retail. By the end of the day, every Target employee knew. By the next morning, the story had hit social media. By the end of the week, it was national news. Target's corporate office called, not to reprimand, to apologize. They offered Robert a consulting position, a role training loss prevention in counterterrorism awareness. He politely declined. I like pushing carts. It keeps me active. They offered to feature him in a company-wide campaign about veteran employment. He declined again. I'm not a symbol. I'm just an employee. What he did accept was one thing. Derek Thompson joining him in the parking lot every Saturday morning, learning to collect carts, listening to quiet stories about service, humility, and what really matters. Derek never forgot the lesson. He became a different kind of manager, one who learned every employee's story, who measured success not just in metrics but in how people were treated, who understood that the person pushing carts might have changed the world. 3 months later, when Derek was promoted to store manager, his first act was creating a program where management spent 1 shift per month working frontline positions. To remember, he said, that every job has dignity, and every person has a story. Robert Martinez still works at Target, still pushes carts, still helps customers, still shows up every morning at 5 a.m. He held too bored of this. The thank you from elderly woman he walked to her vehicle. The quiet satisfaction of carts organized perfectly by the entrance? That's what he wears every day. Because Robert Martinez learned something across 35 years stopping terrorists. The most important battles aren't the ones that make headlines. They're the small acts of kindness, the quiet moments of service, the decision to show up, do good work, and treat every person with dignity. He fought for his country in ways most people will never know. Now he serves it in ways most people will never notice. And both, he knows, matter exactly the same. Robert Martinez's story reminds us that extraordinary people are everywhere bagging groceries, driving buses, stocking shelves, collecting shopping carts. The person you dismissed today might have saved lives yesterday. The old guy holding up the line might be the reason you're alive to complain about it. If this story moved you, have you ever discovered someone's incredible background after judging them? Remember, the Presidential Medal of Freedom represents service at the highest level. But pushing shopping carts with care and dignity? That's service too. Never judge someone by their red vest. You have no idea what they've done, or what they're still doing every single day just by showing up. See you in the next story.